100 Deadly Skills is a book by former Navy SEAL Clint Emerson. Of course, if you follow this series, you already know that, as we're on episode 8 and looking at another 10 tips, this time with a focus on keeping safe, which is quite unusual for this book, as the tips are normally quite dangerous. And actually, glancing at the pages ahead, I think these are probably no different. Number 1. Pistol disarmament. Pointed at chest. If someone has a pistol pointed at you, probably they're robbing you, in which case just hand over your stuff and let it go. But if they're not after material gain and they just want to shoot or abduct you, might be a good time to pull out this last-ditch high-risk maneuver. Grab the attacker's hands and twist the gun towards him while pivoting your body out of the line of fire. If you keep pulling on the gun, eventually his arm will run out of twist and he'll be forced to let go. Now the gun is yours, and with it, the world. Number 2. Pistol disarmament. Pointed at back. It's the same thing, only the guy is behind you. Put your hands up in the air and push back against the gun. According to Clint, this can prevent a semi-automatic's firing mechanism from engaging, but I wouldn't put money on it. Now you once again pivot your body out of the firing line and towards your attacker, bringing your arm down on the gun and trapping it with your armpit. Now simply hit man. Number 3. Survive an active shooter. Somebody shooting up the mall here, the same mall that you went to see if any of the electrical stores have that very specific cable adapter that you need but don't want to buy online and have to wait for it to show up, and they never have it anyway, and now you're going to be a statistic in a spree killing. Well, you have 3 options: run, hide, fight. Run being the best option and fight being a last resort. You should always choose to run away to safety if it's a possibility, and you should run in zigzag patterns to make it harder to hit you. Hide when running may be too risky. Turn off your phone or anything else that may potentially give away your position. Lock and barricade doors. Ricocheting bullets follow the path of the floor, so squat or crawl instead of just lying down. To take cover from grenades or explosives, you should lie down, with your feet towards the explosion, hands covering your head, and mouth open to prevent the blast pressure from rupturing your lungs. If neither of these are an option, you may be forced to fight. This is best done with multiple people and makeshift weapons. Number 4. Make an improvised gas mask. Masks, particularly relevant to current events, unless of course you're watching this in the future, in which case, remember the coronavirus? Or if you just heard that in a future that's not as rosy as I predicted, remember when we were naive enough to think the coronavirus would go away and become a thing of the past? Cut a clear plastic jug into this shape. Remember to cut a hole for your eyes and cover with packing tape. Now fill a sponge with water and squeeze it into the bottle's nozzle. Put the mask on and seal any edges with tape. It won't be airtight, but it'll do. You will now be somewhat protected from the effects of tear gas and the like. Number 5. Survive a grenade attack. Well, we touched on this a bit already, but let's go into more detail. It's possible to run out of the blast radius and into safety, but it's risky. If you don't make it far enough on time, then your upright position will make you vulnerable to shrapnel. So you should run for cover if it is within 3 steps. If there is no cover within that distance, then you should take 2 big steps and drop. Feet towards the grenade as mentioned. Cross your legs to protect your femoral arteries and anything else down there that you might want protected. Have your elbows tucked in tight, your ears covered to prevent your eardrums being burst, and mouth open as mentioned before. Number 6. Wage psychological warfare. Okay. When casing a target over a long period of time, you may eventually learn all there is to learn with hands-off observation of their daily routine. From here, you may want to provoke a reaction or cause a change in behavior by disrupting this routine. Anonymous messages can create a feeling of paranoia, and so-called soft attacks, where the victim is made to feel unsafe or targeted, are suggested by Clint. The main ingredient is invisibility, and if performed well, the victim can feel as if they are up against a large, well-resourced, insurmountable force or organization. And this is something that intelligence agencies really do. It's harassment, really. As an example, in a recent video I covered the Supergun affair and Gerald Bull. Well, apparently, leading up to his assassination, Bull would come back to his apartment to find his furniture rearranged. It was a message, and I guess he didn't take the hint, so he bought the farm. Number 7. Leave zero DNA behind. Forensics today are pretty unforgiving. Loose skin cells or strands of hair will spell your doom. I often think about scenarios where, for whatever reason, a man is dead by my hands and I need to figure out a way to clean up the scene. Well, you're pretty much fucked in that case, but if you premeditate your actions, you can make it very hard for forensic scientists to nail you. Start by thoroughly scrubbing your body from head to toe, removing as much loose skin and hair as possible. At this stage, my hair is basically a lost cause and I couldn't leave a scene without looking like a mangy dog had been through the area. Then you must cover yourself completely in clothing so that as little of your naked skin is exposed as possible. Clint suggests never touching these clothes, even recommending buying the adjacent clothes on the rack so that you can purchase the clothes that you actually want to wear without touching them. You should cover your nose and mouth to prevent yourself from spraying the area with particles. Obviously don't touch anything, and then burn your clothes when you're done. Number 8. Leave zero fingerprints behind. I always thought surgical gloves would be the way to go for this kind of thing, but no. Apparently surgical gloves can hold an imprint of your fingerprints internally, so you should wear white cotton gloves instead. In the event that that will be too conspicuous, you can fill in the troughs in your fingerprints with super glue, or you can try to sand them down with a pumice stone. Sounds painful. Should also be noted that your fingerprints will always grow back the same. Some members of the mob used to mutilate their fingers in ways that would mess up their fingerprints, like burning them off with acid. Some even had fingerprint surgeries. You can also take capecitabine, which is a chemotherapy drug, the effects of which include the inflammation and blistering on the palms of the hands and the soles of the feet, sloughing off skin cells and prints. That sounds like something you probably don't want to do. Number 9. Leave zero digital trace behind. The iconic tinfoil hat is not without merit, as a few layers of aluminium foil will block any incoming or outgoing signals. With this, you can turn your pocket into a safe haven for your electronic device. There are also cases and bags that you can buy, which are specifically designed to block signals. Many phones have small backup batteries that are still running even when you turn the phone off, so your best bet is to dismantle the phone when you don't need it. Just leave it at home if you don't think you're going to need it at all that day. Number 10. Trick facial recognition software. As you're probably already aware, cameras can automatically identify you if they have a pre-existing image of you somewhere in a database. The more of your face that's obscured, the harder it is for a camera to recognize you. You know that list of things they tell you not to do for passport or driving license photos? You know, don't wear a cap, don't wear glasses, don't smile. Basically, all that stuff will help you avoid facial recognition. And that's all for today. Tune in next time for another 10 deadly survival skills. And in the meantime, subscribe, follow my Twitter, follow my second YouTube channel, and join the subreddit. The main ingredient is invisibility, and if performed well, the victim can feel as if they are up against a large, well-resourced... The main ingredient is invisibility, and if performed well, the victim can feel as if they are up against a large, well-resourced... The main ingredient is invisibility, and if performed well, the victim can feel as if they are up against a The main ingredient is invisibility, and if performed well, the victim can feel as if they are up against a Stop saying large. The main ingredient is invisibility, and if performed well, the victim can feel as if they are up against a large, well-resourced, insurmountable force or organization. The main ingredient is invisibility, and if performed well, the victim can feel as if they are up against a large, well-resourced, insurmountable force or organization.